I'm Mike Gillespie, I'm the Managing Director and Co-Founder here at Advent IM. Welcome to one of our case studies.
Hi Mike.
Hello.
We're here to discuss a case study, a recent Advent IM Outsource project that we did with central government.
Yeah.
I thought the best thing to do would be to start with an explanation as to what Advent IM Outsource is.
So, Advent IM Outsource is a new service which we've launched, which provides scalable, non-permanent resource to government departments, and it enables us to provide specially curated and pre-approved, so we do all of the checking in terms of their qualifications, capabilities and expertise, and onboard them through the Advent IM onboarding process. So we then have a pre-approved pool of specialist security skill sets which we can provide into government projects, either one or two people, or because it's scalable, up to providing a whole project team.
So it's the quality Advent IM security skills, but scalable.
It's exactly the same quality that a client would get from our full-time consultants, but scalable and using non-permanent resources.
Okay.
But also, the way in which we're putting the pool together and the Advent IM onboarding process and curation of that pool of resource means that we're providing people not just with the same level of skills, but there's the same level of core values as well.
So what would you say are the key benefits to clients then through using this service, rather than trying to resource something themselves?
Well, the first thing is we've already done the resourcing. So we've done the hard work of going out there and finding the right people to start with. So that reduces effort, cost, overhead on the client themselves. We've already spent the time interviewing the individuals and making sure that they're capable and competent and have the right skill sets. And because we can scale up with very little notice, is we can drop into projects at short notice. Whereas for a client to go out and do that themselves, it could take 3-4 months before they have a resource brought in, onboarded and placed on the project.
So that places undue stress and time and delay on
Absolutely.
And security projects do not need stress and delay.
And because we are a security-led organisation ourselves, we have got the knowledge and the capability when interviewing these individuals to know that they have also got the knowledge and capability. So the client doesn't have to rely on having a security expert in-house in order to go and find external security resource. What we've also done on some of the client-led projects now is we've also inserted a full-time Advent IM senior consultant, and that consultant then, as well as providing security expertise, also manages the security team. So there is a single point of contact for the client. We manage any on-site issues. We make sure that the consultants and contractors are there where they're needed to be, when they're needed, and we make sure that the quality of their outputs is up to the required standard as well. So everything gets streamlined through us, which reduces the level of overhead on the client themselves.
So let's talk about your recent interaction with this very large UK government department. It would seem that there was already a senior security person from Advent IM who was already in place with this particular client, and it was the client that drove the need for the additional engagement with Advent IM.
Yes, absolutely. The conversation basically went, it's great having you here, you're proving your salt, you're demonstrating and delivering exactly what we need, but what we really need is a lot more of you. And that was the start of that conversation, was it possible for Advent IM to scale up and provide more resources of the same calibre? We were able to do that, And we were able to do that with a range of specialist security skills, from security architects, risk management, governance, policy writers. So across the security spectrum, we were able to provide the right resources into the right part of the organisation's demand. And this initially started off of them needing, 5, 6, 7 people as an extension to their existing cybersecurity team. In the end, we ended up servicing over 200 projects successfully, on time and within budget.
What was the problem that we were solving? I mean, obviously they needed the resource, but what had caused that bottleneck?
Well, effectively, there was a lack of resource within the cyber department, and they were struggling to deal with their security backlog. There was a number of projects coming online that were demanding additional resource, which couldn't be fulfilled in-house. And at the time, they were struggling to go to the market and recruit full-time employees. Though the availability of that skill set within the non-permanent market was there, but the availability of that within the permanently employed civil service type of environment wasn't. So we were able to provide that resource.
So the Advent IM managing consultant had clearly won the trust of that government department, and that combined with the pressing issues that they were dealing with led to them engaging with us and overseeing this part of the process ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think that over 20 years we have operated extensively across government, so we're all of our practitioners are able to talk the language of government. We understand how government works, we understand how it's structured, we understand how to sit within government, and we have always, right from the very first project we took on, been very open and honest and demonstrated our ethics, which generates trust. And I think when you have that level of trust and engagement and collaboration with a client, then they are more likely to come forward and say, I have got another problem which you might be able to solve. Can we sit down and talk about it? And in part, that's because there are times when we sit down with a client partner and we say, do you know what? Actually, you don't need to spend a lot of money to solve that problem, because we can deal with that in the existing work we're doing with you. And other times when we say, hey, yeah, you're going to need to get some bodies on seats. The first thing was to sit down with the client and understand the ask. So making sure that we fully understood what the project was going to be about, what its end game was going to be, what's the deliverables going to be, and what's the security requirement that fits into that project. That then enabled us to sit down with the client and identify the right skill sets that are needed. Whether that was security project management, whether it was governance and risk, policy writing, or more specialist technical security architecture, or even system testing. So we're able to identify all of the right roles, and then we go to our pool of specially curated resource, and we pick the right people. And we know those are the right people as people because we've already had that conversation with them, because that's why they're in our pool. So we know that we can bring them into the department. We know that they will immediately gel with the existing project teams. We know they're going to collaborate in an open and honest environment, and we know they're going to work hard and deliver against the requirements. And in fact, the model that we set up with this particular government department, they have then gone on and implemented exactly the same model with a number of the other outsourcing partners, which is a great vindication of the fact that it works.
So the Advent IM managing consultant personally interviewed and eventually selected the contractors that were going to work on this project with them. Do you think that additional layer of assurance for those key stakeholders was integral to the success of this project?
Undoubtedly. At the very first point, it increased and improved the level of trust because we had that personal involvement. Because we had that personal oversight of the interviewing and the onboarding and the ongoing management of the resources, it was a very personal touch from Advent to the client. They knew, therefore, that what they were going to get from those resources that we placed into the roles were the same level of service that they get from our full-time consultants. And in turn, what that meant was that the client was able to say, we've got this level of trust, we can see the capability, we're feeling the results come through, we can back off and let you manage this, which then allows them to focus on the areas that they need to focus on, rather than having to micromanage external resource. And what you're talking about here is not dropping individual disparate resource into projects and hoping they'll get along. What you're talking about is onboarding a group of people who are already known to each other, who have been carefully curated by Advent IM, so we know that they're going to work as a team. And we know that they're not just going to work as a security team, but they're going to work as a project team as well. And that means that there is less management, which is less overhead, which is less time, which is less money. But at the end of it, the most telling thing is over 200 projects delivered successfully using this model.
So a great solution for outsourcing in government.
A perfect outsourcing for government solution.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.